Timothy Ferguson was 15 years old, weighed 69 pounds when he died on July 6, 2022. An autopsy report determined that Timothy died from malnourishment and hypothermia. His death was ruled a homicide. Let's get into it.
You have another son inside the house?
I have two. Yeah.
Are they sleeping still right now?
One of them is, yeah. The 20-year-old's awake.
He's 20?
No, the 20-year-old's awake.
Okay.
He's been wearing really loose clothes the last couple of weeks.
He's really skinny.
He's really skinny, and I didn't notice till this morning because he wouldn't, I asked him if he's okay, and he would not answer me. He's 15. He's been...
He has autism?
Yeah.
Like a high functioning?
Yeah. I had no clue how bad it was. Oh my God. Like I said, he did this back in, my husband's stroke was January 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
So he did this back in, second week of January for almost 3 weeks. And then he ate something last night. I can't remember what it was now, I'm sorry.
It's okay. Where's your husband now?
He's down at his parents' house because he can't get in our house because of his drunk. He can't get up the stairs.
Oh.
And nobody's answering the phone at their house.
You can go back in the house if you want, but I can't. I gotta keep the basement secure. You can't go down there, okay?
I get it. I had no idea. I would have taken him in or something.
Did he say anything?
He had fallen out of bed.
At 5:30?
Yeah.
You sure it wasn't earlier?
I mean, it's possible. I thought it was 5:30, but I wasn't super awake. I heard a thump, and I came down, and he's kind of laying on his side, kind of like, what the heck? And I reached out, and I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Sorry. Oh my God. Oh my God. Yeah. And I reached out, and he pulled himself up, and I asked him if he's okay, and I just asked if he hit his head. He said, no, I think I hit my knees on my chest. I think he couldn't tell me how he fell. Oh my God. No, I don't know what to do. Oh my God. He said it was okay. And then...
Do you have other family here in town?
Well, in West Olive, but they're not answering. Yeah. My father-in-law's an attorney.
Best thing to do is surround yourself with family. Help you get, because right now you're going through it by yourself, and you get overwhelmed.
I had no idea. How could I have missed that? He's been wearing baggy. I mean, he was wearing a hoodie for crying out loud, and I just didn't. His face didn't look like that. What the heck?
Now, what's your first name, ma'am?
Shanda, Shanda.
And what's your last name? Is it Ferguson also?
No, it's Vander Ark. Vander space capital ARK. That's why I asked him to eat last night, because his face started looking a little thin. I'm like, okay, enough. And he wouldn't show. I'm like, let me see. Hold your shirt up. And he wouldn't hold his shirt up. He wouldn't do anything.
Did he get real skinny last time too? Yes.
The only reason I know is because my 7-year-old walked in on him accidentally when he was in the shower downstairs. And then my 7-year-old comes up and he's like, Mama, Timothy's really skinny. I was like, oh.
Was that this time or last time?
That was last time. That was like first week of February is when DC discovered that. And I told him he was either going to start eating multiple times a day, or I was taking him to the hospital, and he didn't want to go to the hospital, so he
ended up eating on his own.
Yes.
Okay. And then, so this last time, Was
Yeah.
it because your husband's wasn't home?
But he hasn't been home since January 3rd. But
Okay.
he had a grand mal seizure. God, it's been 3 weeks ago now. And it was right after that. He actually mentioned he was hungry the day his dad and stepmom called to tell us they were divorced and moving to Florida last week.
Where do they live?
They lived in Oklahoma, but they moved to outside of Jacksonville, Florida, and they're not answering their phone either.
Okay. And that's his biological father?
Yeah. He moved up here with us last May because his dad couldn't handle him. And he's been great. I mean,
Last
other than
May,
the
like,
hunger
as in
strikes.
May of last year or this
Yeah,
year?
May of last year.
Okay.
May of last year.
And he goes to school and everything, he was?
I've been homeschooling him online because it's high functioning. He's just done better at it. I can show you his grade report online. I've got all it's online.
Okay. Is he doing okay?
Yeah, he was failing math, which is not unusual, but he was passing everything else.
What's his date of birth?
8/6 of 2006. I tried to check it in the last few days, and he just wouldn't let me anywhere near him. He didn't want a kiss, a hug, nothing.
Probably didn't want you to give him a hug because then you could tell that
I
he
would
was...
have known. And I told him he was stumbling a little bit last night, but he's not the most coordinated kid in the world. And he said he was okay. And then he ate
What was the last time he ate, you think?
last night. No, Gabriel, keep him up there. He ate toast.
There's two. There's a 7-year-old and a 20-year-old.
The 7-year-old was asleep. I guess he's not now. Oh my God. I should have made him eat. I just know. I feel like such a failure. You see there's food in the house. Oh my God.
Where does he sleep at? Right there in that room?
That loft bed.
Okay. So notice there's another loft bed in another
Yeah, that's
room.
my 7-year-old, but he's been sleeping with me since the youngest is my husband's and mine.
Mm-hmm.
And he's been sleeping with me since his daddy had a stroke.
Okay.
Because he's scared. And I offered to let Timothy move in there but he wanted to stay in his bed. Oh my God. No. I should have made him eat. I should have done something. Can they really hide that from me like that?
They can hide a lot of things from
Oh
you.
my gosh.
What's your date of birth, ma'am?
3/13 of 79.
What's your phone number?
I'm sorry. Area code.
Okay. You can call. You can make some calls if you want again.
I'll try again in a minute. I'm sorry. I don't know what
No,
to do.
nothing I can say could help you through this. You know, the best thing is to do is just bring your loved ones in and just.
His baby brother doesn't know what's going on, and I'm gonna have to tell him eventually, but I don't want to yet. Oh my gosh.
Well, we have to investigate every death. So I can't let anybody go in the basement for now.
Okay.
A medical examiner is going to be coming here in a little
I'm
bit.
sorry it's a little cluttered down there, but
You're fine.
I'm sure y'all have seen a lot worse.
Okay. You're probably going to get asked the same questions multiple times, so I'm sorry for
Oh,
that.
it's fine. Like I said, I feel like I just missed something.
So if you want
How
to,
did he hide that from me?
um,
How did he do that? Oh. I work in White Cloud.
Mm-hmm.
So
well,
I
that's
love
a
my
long
job.
way.
I'm law clerk to the circuit court judge up there. I love my job, but yeah. Oh my God. Oh my God. How did this happen?
Pardon?
Where does he sleep?
Down there, right there in that room.
So that's
The bed up
Yeah.
there. You see the pillow and the blanket and stuff?
He sleeps on the top bunk?
Yeah, it's a loft. There's no bottom bunk.
Okay.
There's stuff underneath it.
Oh, it's like a desk on the underneath?
Yeah, well, yeah, the desk got broken, but there's boxes underneath it.
So you heard him fall.
Yeah.
That woke you up? And you went down there and he was...
And I helped him up. I asked him if he wanted something to eat, because he the first time I noticed anything on even his face was last night. And he said, no, I'm not hungry. I said, did you hit your head? And I checked his head to make sure he didn't have anything. I noticed he has some scratches on his face. I'm like, are you okay? No, I'm fine. And then I watched him get back up on his bed. And then I went back upstairs. And then I woke up and I wanted to check on him this morning when I was getting ready for work. So I went down there and I said something. I didn't see him wake up, and I shook him and didn't respond.
Was he on the bed when you came down there?
Yes.
And then you pulled him down and started CPR?
Yes.
Okay.
I called 911. My 20-year-old was getting up because I was going to drop him off at work early because his e-bike has a flat tire. Oh my gosh. I should have noticed this. I should have seen this. Oh my gosh.
All right. We have people coming to talk to you called Victim Services. They'll help you through
Thank you.
the grieving process because
Please. He's really good at hiding stuff. That's part of the reason his dad couldn't handle him, is because he kept lying about stuff.
how old is he?
15.
15?
He'll be 16 in August.
Okay.
But his dad texted me last May and said, I can't handle him anymore. I have to send him to live with you. And I'm like, yeah, sure, absolutely.
Why was that? What did he do that?
He said he was lying to him. He was destroying things.
Is he hard to deal with?
I don't think so, but I'm stricter than his dad.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that, I mean, he's the lying's been a problem. But nothing major.
Yeah, nothing crazy.
No. He's
All teenagers lie.
tripped down the stairs a couple of times, like just half the flight. And then later he came back to me, admitted he did it intentionally. But I've asked him, I'm like, you're trying to hurt yourself? He's like, no, I just wanted to see what would happen. That's the way, a lot of times, he wants to see what would happen if he does stuff. And, oh my gosh.
And I guess he's prescribed ADHD medicine, but he's not taking it.
Yeah, because he wasn't able to sleep with it. And he was doing really well, and he asked me if he could not take it, and I said, okay. And it was killing his appetite. That doesn't help. He quit taking it about the time of the first hunger strike, because when he finally started eating, and he was.
But he did eat last night, you said?
Yes. He had some toast with butter on it. It's what he had. That's all he wanted to eat. He said his stomach was a little upset. He didn't want to eat anything else. Oh my gosh. You want to go check on the other kids?
Yeah, you can do that for sure.
I know my 20-year-old's got my 7-year-old, but still.
Nope, that's...
Hey. Paul. You okay up here?
Shanda Vander Ark, Timothy's mother, and Paul Ferguson, Timothy's brother, was charged with the connection of his death. The abuse that Timothy suffered at the hands of his own mother and brother was horrific. For the life of me, I do not know how they thought what they did to Timothy was okay. Shanda and Paul waited almost 20 minutes to call 911 when Timothy was found unresponsive on the morning of July 6, 2022. When medical assistants arrived at 4788 Marshall Road in Norton Shores, Michigan, they were shocked. Timothy was described as skin and bones. Shanda spent every opportunity she could to blame things on Timothy while speaking with law enforcement. She claimed she did not notice he was getting thin because he wore baggy clothing. Shanda at first lived in Oklahoma, married someone named Eric Ferguson, and they had 4 children: Nolan, Paul, Millie, and Timothy. Shanda was reported multiple times to CPS between 2009 and 2012, and CPS recommended giving up her rights. However, Shanda instead relinquished custody because she wanted to avoid a permanent removal of her parental rights. She agreed to leave the home. Eric and Shanda divorced in 2012. Eric was given full custody of all 4 children. At some point, Shanda moves to North Shores, Michigan, and gets married for the second time to Adam Vander Ark. They had 1 son together, and his name was Gabriel, who was 7 at the time of Timothy's death. After graduating from high school, Paul couldn't get along with his father, so he moved to Norton Shores, Michigan with Shanda, Adam, and Gabriel. Timothy was autistic with ADHD and had speech and motor impairment, but he was healthy when he arrived to live in the home. Adam suffered a stroke in July of 2022 and had to move in with his parents in Florida. Adam used a wheelchair to get around, and their home was bi-level, so it made it complicated for him after the stroke. Shanda and Paul set up their work schedules so that Timothy could constantly be watched. Paul worked nights at Applebee's as a dishwasher. Shanda worked as a law clerk for the Newaygo County Circuit Court.
In an unexpected twist, it turns out she was no stranger to the courtroom.
I know that the defendant was working as a law clerk for the Newaygo Circuit Court. My understanding is right up to the point that she was arrested.
To help monitor Timothy, cameras were placed throughout the home. Timothy was required to live in a closet in the basement. The closet only consisted of a tarp on the floor and an Amazon box that was used for the camera. To keep Timothy in the closet, a lock was placed on the door. Because he was restricted the use of the bathroom, it also smelled like urine and feces.
Where could Timothy go, basically?
Mainly he was restricted to the downstairs area, to a closet downstairs. There,
Where did he actually sleep most nights?
in the closet.
What did you call the closet? Was there a name you used to refer to the closet?
The small room,
And what was in the small room if Timothy was in the small room?
there was a camera monitoring him, even when he slept.
Was there an alarm on the door as well?
Yes, sir.
Some type of motion sensor or alarm?
Motion, vibration, yes.
So we had that on the door and then a camera actually inside the room as well, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And were there times where you were required to watch that camera?
Yes, sir.
And to your knowledge, were there times when your mother was watching that camera as well?
Yes, sir.
Were there any restrictions on his movement inside the closet, or was it he could move around however he wanted inside the closet?
There were restrictions.
What were the restrictions on his movement?
Hands on his head, normally?
Hands on his head, is that what you indicated?
Yes.
Was that some form of discipline for him?
Yes. On his knees and against a corner or wall of the room.
And for how long would he have to do these things?
Several hours.
And that was inside his closet, for lack of a better way of putting it, what you referred to as the small room, correct?
Yes, sir.
Food was not an option for Timothy while living in the home. He was deprived of food for months and only given bread soaked in hot sauce and water. Now, this was just not any hot sauce. Shanda went online and found Elijah's Extreme Regret hot sauce that contained Trinidad Scorpion and Carolina Reaper, the world's 2 hottest peppers. The bottle reads, "The pain becomes unbearable and you feel like you just ate a burning hot coal."
Mr. Johnson asked you about the hot sauce that you ordered, and we saw the bottles of hot sauce. Those weren't just ordered from Meijer, were they?
No,
You had to special order those, didn't you?
on Amazon, yes, sir.
I think you said the reason that you couldn't just get those from Meijer for your grocery delivery things is because they just didn't have hot sauce, right?
No, they didn't have that type of hot sauce.
That type of hot sauce. Yes, sir. Okay. How did you conclude that that was the type of hot sauce that Timothy, how do I put this, both loved and got to be used as a punishment?
because the hot sauce that I had and the ones that I could access on the apps, he loved those hot sauces. So
So you had to go out of your way to find one even hotter, one that he didn't like.
yes, sir.
And the hot sauce started as Paul's idea?
Yes, sir.
How do you come up with the idea to do hot sauce if Timothy likes hot sauce?
Well, he said that if I guess he'd read something, if I remember correctly. The conversation's not, it's vague at best, but from what I remember, he'd said something about he'd read something about something really hot, some new something. He's like, oh, this might be an idea to do it with a sauce that he doesn't like.
So you tested out other hot sauces before you got to that point, and because he didn't react, you figured, let's just keep increasing the heat? Is that it?
No, I don't remember how many I ordered, but I just went with something that was hotter than what I could get.
So you tried to punish him with a lower hot sauce, but he doesn't respond. So then you increase how hot it is, right?
I didn't try with the lower because I already knew he liked the lower hot sauce.
So how did it even occur to you to be a punishment for him to find one even hotter then? How is that even a punishment if he likes hot sauce? He never liked even the hot sauce, did he?
Huh? Yes, he did. He ate spicy food.
You heard Paul's testimony yesterday,
I did.
and you heard him say that he never wanted to eat those slices of bread with the hot sauce on it, didn't you? You heard that testimony.
That's what I heard him say, yes.
And your response to that in a lot of these text messages was make sure you use even more hot sauce than you did before, right?
If that's what you say the text messages say.
Well, you just read the one that said he can have 4, and then he can wait 30 minutes, and then he can have some without hot sauce on it. You read that one, right?
Yes, sir.
But again, you don't remember sending that text message.
No, sir.
But aliens didn't take a hold of your phone and take over your body or anything like that, did they?
No, sir.
No.
Many times the hot sauce was forced down Timothy's throat for a form of punishment. In one text communication, Shanda even wanted Paul to drip some of the hot sauce on Timothy's private area. This Paul stood up and he refused. Now, if he could refuse to do it there, why couldn't he refuse all the other things that she wanted him to do? Timothy was on medication to control his condition. However, Shanda stopped giving him his meds, and of course, Timothy's condition just got worse. Timothy was not supposed to be in her care. She could not get insurance for him, so not only was he not taking his meds, but he was also not seeing a doctor. With Timothy's disabilities, he needed to see a doctor on a regular basis. Shanda was homeschooling Timothy. Prior to him moving in with her, he was attending school. And he was thriving and he seemed to be doing well. Of course, she couldn't get him in school because, again, he was not supposed to be in her care. Motion sensors were placed on the stairway to prevent Timothy from coming upstairs and getting food. And in case he could get past the motion sensors, locks were on the fridge, the freezer, and the pantry. Shanda claimed during her trial that she placed the locks due to Timothy eating uncooked and frozen food. Why would he do that? Why would a child eat uncooked and frozen food? When he got caught eating food, Shanda said he was being sneaky and deceitful. On many occasions, Timothy was even forced to throw up what he ate if he got caught eating something. To restrict his movement, Timothy's wrists and ankles were either handcuffed or zip-tied. Shanda claimed he was intentionally keeping everyone up at night. If he complained, they were tightened. When he had to go to the bathroom, he was given 1 minute to pee and 2 minutes if he had to poop. One time, Shanda wanted to use salt water as a form of punishment, but relented because she felt it would give him an excuse to sit on the toilet longer than what she allowed. To make Timothy uncomfortable, he was punished by being forced to stand facing a wall or do wall sits for long periods of time, and sometimes even overnight. He was only given cold baths, forced to clean the garage with no pants, and made to exercise excessively by running up and down the steps. Timothy was kept hidden from the outside world and his step-grandparents. Again, Shanda worked during the day, so Paul was her enforcer while she was at work. Her obsession with watching the cameras even ended her first job as a law clerk. Shanda and Paul spent many hours communicating by text on what punishments to enforce on Timothy while she viewed the live feeds from her camera. Paul wanted to ensure he pleased Shanda and not make her mad, so he followed her orders in torturing Timothy. He had the opportunity to help by going to a neighbor, calling the police, or he worked at Applebee's. He could have snuck him some food. When Shanda went to work, he could have went to a neighbor's house. He could have called the police. Like, there was other things that he could have done to prevent what was happening to Timothy. But instead, he went along with it and he participated in it. And then he began to also enjoy it himself. It's just sickening. He definitely became a bully, and he took pleasure in torturing his own brother, his special needs brother. So to make his mother proud of him. You don't torture other people to make someone proud. It's just not right. In so many ways, it's just not right. Timothy was accused of faking his behaviors and not being able to walk, and Shanda even convinced Paul that he was faking. Her attitude was, he will not win. Shanda took no responsibility for Timothy's death. Instead, she blamed Paul. Paul, on the other hand, admitted the abuse of Timothy under Shanda's instruction. He pleaded guilty. Shanda pled not guilty. Paul agreed to testify against Shanda as a part of a plea deal with the prosecutor's office. Shanda's attorney, Fred Johnson, argued that she did not understand the harm she was causing Timothy, and she did not know he was starving. Timothy was so starved that his ribs were visible through his skin. How did she not know he was starving? Shanda was educated. She graduated in 2016 from Liberty University with a Bachelor of Science degree in paralegal studies. She then studied in 2018 to 2021 at Western Michigan University Cooley Law School. There, she participated in mock trials. She served on many committees and was the budget committee leader for the West Michigan Student Bar Association. Shanda was also a teaching assistant and honored with a Leadership Achievement Award. She passed the bar examination on the first try. After she graduated in 2021, she landed a job as a law clerk for Muskegon County Circuit Judge Annette Smetley. Right before her arrest, she was employed at Newaygo County as a law clerk. So like I said, she was not dumb. During her time on the witness stand, she claimed she did not remember many of the texts between her and Paul. You know, honestly, I felt that Timothy's father should have been held accountable for some form of child abuse in this case. He sent Timothy to live with Shanda because he could not handle him. That's part of the reason why Shanda couldn't get medical insurance for Timothy. She couldn't get him in school, and she couldn't get his prescriptions filled because she didn't have custody of him, and she wasn't even supposed to be around him. Timothy suffered with autism, ADHD, speech and motor impairment, and therefore he required consistent guidance. Eric was fully aware of the issues that Shanda had with CPS during their marriage. So why would he send Timothy to live with her? She had already shown that she could not be a good mother, period. Eric was ready to hand Timothy over because his needs were more important than doing what was best for his special needs son. Both were arrested in July 2022 and remained in jail until trial. Shanda was charged with first-degree murder and child abuse. Paul was charged with child abuse after testifying against Shanda. Shanda's trial began on December 13, 2023. The trial lasted 3 days, and on day 2, she claimed she was suffering from a panic attack. Court has to go to recess. She even vomited during her testimony when prosecutor Mark Roberts showed her a picture of Timothy, claiming she had never seen it before. However, Paul had sent her the same picture a few weeks before Timothy's death, saying, "I think we need to actually feed him." Shanda tried to outsmart Mr. Roberts during her cross-examination. However, Mr. Roberts and his team did a great job in giving the jury a picture of what life was like for Timothy.
You heard Dr. DeYoung's testimony. Timothy had signs of hypothermia. How does a 15-year-old in Michigan in July get hypothermia? By sitting in an ice bath for hours upon hours upon hours at a time. And that's what Timothy went through on the last day of his life. Tortured with a pizza roll that he could eat. Cold water repeatedly dumped on him. Repositioned if he started to feel comfortable. And she's watching everything. She's directing everything. The level of mental harm inflicted on Timothy is difficult to grasp. How a 15-year-old already with special needs, the sensory issue that she described, she's punishing him with hot sauce. She's punishing him with ice baths. She's punishing him with alarms that make noise that affects his ears. She's depriving him of sleep. She's depriving him of movement. She's depriving him of clothes. She's locking him in a closet. If that's not serious mental harm, then I don't know what is. Timothy Ferguson had become less than the animals that she trains. You heard her say it would never occur to her to do the things that she did to Timothy to the animals that she trains, to the dogs that she trains. He was less than a dog to her. You don't need much more than these text messages to prove that Shanda Vander Ark is responsible because she intended to kill, because she intended to do great bodily harm, or she at least created a situation so dangerous that death or great bodily harm was a result to her child, Timothy Ferguson. And I will ask you to return a verdict of guilty of first-degree felony murder, first-degree child abuse. Thank you.
Shanda didn't appear on the third day of trial due to medical issues. The trial continued, and a jury on December the 15th found her guilty on all counts in less than just a little bit over an hour. So it took them no time to determine that she was guilty. Nolan and Millie Ferguson traveled miles to be present at Shanda's sentencing to deliver impact statements on behalf of Timothy. Shanda was sentenced on January 23, 2024, 50 to 100 years without any chance of parole. As he read the sentence, the judge noted that he sentenced Vander Ark above what guidelines set out. The court finds the amount of torture that I have indicated justifies a reasonable ground to depart from the guidelines.
Entire case to wrap my mind around about how somebody could do something so horrific, not only to another human being, but to their own child. I will tell you this. I'm choosing not to remember your son dead, looking like a Holocaust victim, but I'm choosing to remember like that. And you can't even look at him. That's how he was. A beautiful child with a lot of life in his eyes. That's who your son was. And you took that from him. I'm choosing to remember him as a happy individual with life, not as an individual. And that's the picture I want people to remember of your son. You took that from him. You took it from him. For what reason, I don't know. Mr. Johnson's right. There is something broken in you. I don't know what that is, but it doesn't negate what you did here. So, besides remembering him like that, I'm not going to let you hide in the darkness anymore. People know what you are now. They know what you did. You're not able to hide in the darkness anymore. Timothy won. And he won because we know what you did to him now. It's not hidden anymore. We know who you are. That's the way that I'm going to honor him. You don't win because justice, thank God, in this case prevailed. I can't even imagine if you had been able to resuscitate him. He'd be still suffering. So if there's anything thing I'm grateful for would be that he finally passed away so you couldn't continue to torture him like you did. It's a sentence of the court. First as to count 2, child abuse in the first degree. Court sentences you 50 years to 100 years in prison.
Paul was sentenced on February 26, 2024.
What reasons could justify my actions? I could make up 1,000 and never believe one. What words could voice my regrets? I can think of millions, yet never feel it's enough. If I could do it all again and do it right, I would. I feel I will pay for my choices and yet never feel better because he's still gone. I have had time to think during my time in Muskegon County Jail, and I've realized many things about myself that I might never have considered otherwise. My problems and flaws, to put it simply, are the place to begin correction of self. I asked the judge for nothing more than mercy and fairness, to offer me compassion so I might learn from him. I only hope to better myself in the coming days and serve my time with what little honor I have left, and to make right my faults in search of a better tomorrow.
Mr. Ferguson, I think you are a product of your environment, but I don't believe you that you're sorry. I don't. I don't think you have empathy. I don't think you have any emotion whatsoever. And that's what scares the court. It really scares me. I think you're sorry that you're here. I think you're sorry you got caught. I don't think you wanted Tim to die either, like your mother, because you would get caught and you wouldn't torture him anymore. And believe me, I've tried to sit here and try to think, well, maybe Mr. Ferguson's not as bad as Mom. I think you're just as bad, if not worse. If not worse. Because you had a job. You could have, Mr. Johnson actually asked you, couldn't you have brought home a thing of food for him? You could have gone to a neighbor and said, hey, my mom's abusing him. You could have grabbed him and got him out of there. You could have done any number of things to stop this. And you chose not to. Your own brother. And this is where we're at. So, based on all that, it's a sentence of the court. You serve 30 years to 100 years, Michigan Department of Corrections.
As you can see, Paul was shocked that the judge gave him 30 to 100 years. He was shocked. He was not expecting that sentence. All right, guys, so thank you for sticking around to the end. I really appreciate you guys. You are so awesome. Please share this video for me. Don't forget to like, comment. Let me know what you think about this case. What are your thoughts on Paul's words before his sentencing to the judge? What do you think about those words that he shot out? And of course, Shanda didn't have anything to say, before her sentencing, but do you feel like the sentencing that she was given will justify with her actions and what she did in this particular case? Let me know your thoughts. Thanks, guys. Make it a great week. Talk to you next time.
Millie Joan Ferguson.
All right, you may proceed. Go ahead, Ms. Ferguson.
Thank you. I'm Millie. I'm Timothy's youngest older sister. I'm 2 years older than him. One of my earliest memories I have was being taken away from my parents by CPS. My two older brothers rode in a car ahead of us, and me and Timothy rode together in the second car. And in every picture we have as a family, Timothy was always right by my side. We were the two youngest, the two smallest. We were the two that sat in the middle in the backseat car rides with the too small car. The last two to get hand-me-downs, the two that never had to worry about not getting homework help from an older sibling. He was always 2 years behind me, so every time I got to the next level in school, that's how many years I had to wait for him to follow along. When I was in 8th grade, he was in 6th, and there was a student in my science class that started talking about him, trying to start rumors. I stood up right as class was starting, as people were quieting down, and I shouted at him to never talk about my little brother. People could say whatever they wanted about me, I didn't care, but not about him, and never about him, because I was his big sister. It was my job to protect him. I like to say I don't regret things in my life, that every mistake I've made has made me who I am today, but when Timothy died, I couldn't stop regretting. I regret not hugging him more and teasing him so much instead of telling him that I loved him every once in a while. I regret not putting aside my differences with Shanda and Paul just to check in on him. I regret not dancing with him the last time I saw him at our brother's wedding. These are the things that I can't remedy now. There's no fixing what's been done. No way to redo it all over again, and that's my regret. That I couldn't protect him when he needed me most. Timothy was so smart. He could take anything apart with any tools, or none at all. He had trouble focusing, but when he did, he was just as smart as the rest of his class. He made people angry, yes, but then he would look at you with those big baby blue eyes, and you could never stay mad at him. It took me 6 months of therapy after he died to even properly feel the emotions of his death. And I'm still in therapy today. I've been trying so hard since he passed away just to try to let people know of him, let people know that he was loved, that there are people out there grieving for him. I'm here today for him because I was asked to speak for him, because I was given a victim impact statement for him instead of a witness one, because the victim of this crime can't speak for himself. I knew him his whole life. I held him the day he was born, and I continued to try to hold his hand as long as he was by my side, until he wasn't. I want the woman who killed my little brother to face the highest punishment possible. I want her detained for the rest of her life so she can't hurt anyone else. And I want the world to know that Timothy was wanted, if not by her, then by me. He was loved by me. Thank you.
I am Timothy's oldest brother, and unfortunately the oldest child of Shanda Vander Ark. I live with my wife 900 miles from here, and in July of 2022 I was working 60-hour work weeks trying to build a career when I received a phone call that I never thought I would get. My baby brother Timothy was gone. For 2 days I reeled with no explanation until I was informed that our own mother was in jail for his murder. Somehow, making an entirely unexpected and deeply awful situation worse. I thought that things were different than when I was younger. I thought my mother had changed for the better. Not one day has been easier since then. I've had to leave my career behind. My wife has to watch helplessly as I struggle, day in and day out, wondering how none of us knew what was going on, wondering if I told Tim I loved him enough times for him to remember up until the very end. I have to wake up every day and pretend that I am who I was before Timothy died. I have to pretend to be Nolan so that my friends and coworkers and family won't worry about me more than they already do. I'm surrounded by people who love me and care about me, but not a single person besides my sisters who understand how hard it is. Timothy wasn't surrounded by people who loved him when he died, and if I had known that, nothing could have stopped me from rescuing him and holding him in my arms and telling him I love him, that his big brother's got him, just like I did the day he was born. But because of Shanda Vander Ark's actions, I instead got to cradle the bag of his ashes in my arms, just like I did the day he was born. In all my life, I only knew one thing that my little brother didn't like. He hated goodbyes. If he had to say goodbye to anyone, he would cry, and he would hold you, and he would say, "Don't go." But now I'm the one crying, but I never got to say goodbye. I will always love Timothy like I always have, and it kills me to think about it. But I know he loved even his abuser and killer up until the very end, because unlike me, that's all he was capable of, love. I, on the contrary, want to stand here and express the anger and hatred that I feel, but if I'm honest, all that's just a mask, a bandage I try to put over the hole in my heart that was reserved for Timothy, but is now just filled with pain and remorse for every hug, high five, and I loved you that I might have missed in the time that I had with my sweet baby brother. So now I turn to the justice system in hopes that in addition to serving the maximum penalty, that there will be no appeals or second chances. If I can't have my brother back, she shouldn't have her freedom back. And lastly, I want everyone to know that to those who knew him, even that wouldn't feel like justice. Because the life of one sweet little blue-eyed boy is not equivalent to that of a murderer.